home studio engineers, as always, thank you so much for checking out the Home Recording Network. And after my last video on how to manually edit your drums in Luna, of course, I had to follow it up with a video on audio quantizing in Luna. And this is pretty new for UAD. They just implemented this into Luna recently. I've checked it out. I've edited drums with it, and spoiler alert, it's very smooth and easy to do. So today I'm going to show you how you can easily quantize your multi-track drums in Luna. I'm going to show you how I do it, what I feel is the best way to go about this so that you can easily replicate this and get tightly edited drums in your home studio. Now, coming from Logic, I am just very impressed with Luna's warp time editing and their audio quantizing feature because, to be honest, Logic is probably one of the worst DAWs out there when it comes to editing multi-track drums. So the fact that Luna has come out with this has made my life a little bit easier, and hopefully it'll make yours a little bit easier as well. So let's get into this, but first, if this video helps you out at all, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Any support is super helpful to me as I grow my small channel and helps me to reach more home studio engineers like yourself that need help. All right, so we have some raw home recorded drums in front of us, the same example I used for the last video. And guys, if you didn't watch the last video on manual drum editing, you might want to check that out because there's definitely going to be some stuff in there that's going to be beneficial to you. So these are the drums we're working with. Yeah, and if we put the click on, we can tell that he's pretty close. But it's not perfect, right? This video is going to be for people who want, that kick and snare right on the beat. They want the drums perfect. Like I said in the last video, this all has to be recorded to a click. So if your drummer cannot play to a click or has trouble with that, make sure to check out my other video on what to do when your drummer cannot play to a click. So first of all our drums have to be grouped, and my drums are already grouped. If we come down to the drums group, hit edit, we can go in there and we can see all the tracks are in this group, all the drum tracks, and we have the editing selected, which is going to move all of the tracks if we make an adjustment to just one of them. So we want everything to follow along. If your tracks are not grouped, you can just grab them up here. So let's say we want this first one, and then I'm going to hit shift and hold down to, let's say, this one. It's going to select all of them. If we hit Command G there, it's going to open up a new group. And then we can name this group if we want. We can select just editing here. So we would want this box checked. And then we would hit OK there, and that would group our tracks. So make sure your groups are in place and editing is selected. Up at the top left, I also have my grid set to 16th note for drum editing. And then I have my snap on. So if we want to make adjustments to any of the warp markers, I pretty much want those snapped to the grid. So it just helps to have the snap mode on. Next, under the track here, I want to set my warp mode to the Luna razor blade, and this is specifically made to protect the front end of our transients, something that Logic did not do a very good job at. So I'm going to select this Luna razor blade, and it's going to change all the tracks in the group to the razor blade warp mode. Now I'm also going to go to the view here where it says clips, and I'm going to change this to warps. And this is going to show all of our warp markers here. So now we have all the little markers by our transients, and we're good to move on. Now, if we hit the Q on any of our drum tracks here, it's going to pull up the quantizing menu on the left here. And this is what we're going to be using to quantize our drums. What I personally like to do here is turn the auto apply off. So all this means is when we select a grid value here to quantize by, it's going to make me come down here and actually hit quantize before it moves any of the warp markers. With auto apply on, anytime you click one of these, it's going to just auto quantize. And I just don't like to do that. Now, the first thing I like to do here is select my track priority. So anything I want to edit by in Logic, this is sort of like turning the cue on the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both the kick in and kick out, and I'll explain why. And then I'm going to select the snare top as well. Some people like to also quantize the toms, but I'm not going to do that. I try not to touch the toms at all if possible. I just try to edit by the kick and the snare and see how everything sounds. Now, the reason I like to select both the kick in and kick out microphone is because, well, first of all, I have two kick microphones. You might not have that, but sometimes the warp marker is a little bit different on the kick in and kick out. So if we go right here, if we zoom in here, we can see that the kick in here is recognized first. So I wanted to edit by that warp marker, not the kick out. And in different spots, the kick out will be recognized first. And I just want to select whatever one comes first. And I don't want to chop off any of the front end of my drum transients here. Now, I just took a second to find you a good example. So if I zoom in here on this track or on this transient, we can see that the kick out microphone actually is recognized just a little bit ahead of the kick in. And if we edited by just the kick in right there, it's going to chop off a little bit of the front end of the transient there, which I don't want. So in this case, I would want the kick out prioritized. So that's why I select both the kick in and kick out. And when you're doing this, you always want to make sure after you edit that you're not slicing off any of the kick or snare transients. That's just something to look out for. So there we go. We got our track priority set. Now for the options up here, the only one I'm going to talk about is the strength. So if this strength is set to 100%, it's going to snap the warp marker to the closest grid value, whatever you select up here. If it's set to 50, it's only going to move it 50% closer to that grid value. And this is something I would use. I actually just edited drums for a song where I wanted to leave a lot more of that natural flow in the drum tracks. So I had set this to 50% so that everything's not really 100% correct. And there's still some natural flow, keeping it closer to how the drummer played it. Now, what I'm going to do here is make sure I have all my drum tracks selected. So if you just click on any of the tracks, because they're grouped, it's going to highlight them all. And then what I'm going to do is select 16th note here from the grid and hit quantize. And that's going to move everything right to the grid. Now, some people might think you're done here or you're good to go, but that's not true. We really still need to go through the whole song and listen to make sure everything's on time and that there's no strange artifacts or anything like that. So I've never really found a way in any DAW just to kind of hit the quantize button and be done. I've always had to go in and do some manual work, especially, on cymbal hits and stuff. You might have to remove some flex markers. But if we listen here, everything is pretty spot on. Let me just play a part of the song where he's really heavy on the kick and the snare so you can get a good feel for how spot on this is. Yeah, so everything is edited very, very tightly, and Luna's done a really good job, but there is still some additional work to do. First of all, I will go through the whole song and make sure, everything's on beat. Nothing was put where it's not supposed to be. I'll do that first, but what I'll actually do is go through and remove any, warp markers that aren't kick or snare hits. So we see this one right here. So I can actually just go and highlight this and hit delete. If I come through here, I can grab all these that are in between the kick and the snare hits and hit delete, because I don't really like anything that's maybe a cymbal like a hi-hat. I don't want that really edited. Maybe you do, but sometimes that can sound a little odd. So I'll actually take the time to go and find all of those and just get rid of them all. I don't really care about those. I just really am looking for the kick and snare to be on beat. So yes, the way I do this can be a bit time consuming, but I don't like to mess around with drums, right? For me, drums and vocals are just something that super important to the song, and I don't really like to screw around with them. So I will take the time to come in here and really polish things up. Now, if your drums are sounding a bit too stiff, you can always go and mess with the strength and try that out. Maybe your drums don't have to be exactly on beat, but in a lot of the styles of music that I mix, the artists and bands really want tight drums. That's probably the easiest way to edit your drums in Luna. I am still very much a big fan of manual editing and really digging in there and doing all the work yourself. I showed that in 2 ways in the other video, but in that way, you're just kind of in control of everything. You're actually going in and moving everything around. It takes a bit longer, but like I said, I'm still a very big fan of doing it that way. But this is a great option too. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helps you out. Happy mixing, guys. Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to download your free Ultimate Home Studio Mix Guide with your go-to EQ and compression settings for all your tracks. And also be sure to register for my free online mix training that I hold a couple times a week so that you can learn how to make radio quality music from your home without breaking the bank.